Okay, you've just learned how to knit, and now it is time to learn the second basic stitch in knitting, and that is the purl stitch. The purl stitch is literally the opposite of a knit stitch. So with a knit stitch, you have yarn in back, you stick the needle through the back of the loop, and then knit counterclockwise, and then pull it out. So with a purl stitch, you bring your yarn to the front by going between the needles, just like that. So like it's back here in the back for a knit stitch. And now we're gonna bring it between the needles to the front. And now instead of going through the back of the loop, like we would for a knit stitch, we're gonna go through the front of the loop. And then we're going to wrap counterclockwise, give it a little bit of tension, and then we're gonna back out of that loop. And then pull the beginning loop off of the left-hand needle. Let me show that again. So if you're knitting and you have your yarn in the back, you're going to pull your yarn to between the two needles to the front, stick your needle in through the front, wrap counterclockwise, and then pull it out. Just like that. You just keep going. And then if for some reason you have to switch to a knit stitch, you pull your yarn between the two needles to the back, and then you start knitting. And then switch back to purling by bringing the yarn between the two needles to the front. Go through the front of the stitch. Wrap the yarn counterclockwise. Pull the yarn through that stitch, and then pull the old stitch off the needle. And that is how you purl. Now let's talk about identifying the difference between a knit stitch and a purl stitch. So, in order to tell the difference between the two, you have to look at the bottom of your needle. So for a knit stitch, you're gonna just have a loop right here on the needle. For a purl stitch, you're gonna have a little bump. This is why it's called a purl. It makes a little bump that they call a purl. Let's see if I can get it closer. So you have just a regular knit stitch right here, and then you have a purl bump for a purl. So this is a purl, knit, 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 purl, purl, knit, knit. So when they say that a knit stitch is the opposite of a purl stitch, it's because the back side of a knit stitch is a purl. So this right here is a knit stitch, right? So let's follow this stitch to the back, and on the back of it, you see a purl bump. So on this side of the work, the stitch is a knit, and on this side, it's a purl. So, depending on what you're doing, which side of your work is the front, in this case, this is the front side of the work. So if my next stitch, I need to be a knit, I'm gonna knit this, but on the back side of it, it's gonna be a purl. See, this is a purl on the back side, so if we follow it forward, it's a knit on the front side.